if you were a woman, so take that as you will. I don't think you're in this hypothetical. I don't think you're as good at debating as you are now.
Wow.
So you're a woman and you're going on to Fresh and Fit. Mm-hmm. So that's the entire
Great idea. I love it.
Okay, yeah. What's the strategy?
There's a huge strategy that I employ that I'm very conscious of, where when I'm going into these platforms where it's going to be very adversarial.
The red pill community would tell us that you guys are currently having a horrible time on the dating market because your value has been massively lowered as a result of your careers. What's it actually feel like out there?
I want to know what you guys think about everything that's happened lately with like not Andrew Tate, with Aiden Ross getting kicked off of Twitch and like the type of content he's been pushing through on this Kick platform.
It's kind of fascinating because you're looking at somebody who clearly kind of had the world by the balls and could have pretty much done whatever in terms of building like a brand as a streamer and everything. But the allure of telling the world that there are two genders and like going on this little like Andrew Tate 11 spree is apparently too strong because, I mean, part of it's got to be the fact that he apparently has like, $50 million or $100 million.
I've heard all sorts of numbers.
Aiden Ross has $50 million?
Well, he was allegedly getting $4 million a month from Stake at one point to basically endorse their gambling site and play on stream and everything. He allegedly got $150 million from Stake or from Kick, the new streaming platform. So I don't know if any of those numbers are true, but even if they're like totally off, like he would pretty much have to be an idiot to not have like 50 million plus in the bank right now, which has got to be kind of overwhelming when you're just
22.
a 22-year-old kid. I interviewed him a couple years ago and he was painfully normal.
Interesting.
I'm sure.
If you even have $10 million, just retire. Why be perceived?
Or if you like what you're doing.
How old is everybody here?
True.
Just curious. Actually, I know how old he is. How old are you two? If you mind saying, or you can give an approximate. I'm just curious.
I'm 30.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm 29.
I feel like
You guys look great for your age, for the record.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm just curious for where we're all in life. I feel like it's hard when I feel something for these kids that are like 19 and 20 and getting like worldwide fame.
No, literally.
It's easy for me to look at Aiden and be like, what a moron. But dude, if I look at myself when I'm 34 now, if I look at myself when I was 27, I was a idiot. I can't even imagine being 21 or 20 with like 70,000 live. I can't even imagine the insane shit I would say. So he's stupid, but he should be. He's like 22, right?
I think about this all the time. Like if I had the platform and like the amount of like resources and power that I have now when I was like 18 or 19, I would probably be dead. Like I probably would not have lived this long. I would have done something so stupid that would be gone.
And you want to rebel and fight. Like, yeah, there are two genders or whatever. But it hits different when you're like a college kid who's mad at mom and dad versus when you're on, Kick with 80,000 people watching and everything you say resonates out into the internet ethers,
Okay, but when you see the latest Aiden Ross career arc, in particular, like that there are two genders tweet or whatever, like, do you feel like it's coming from a principled stance where he really believes these things and he wants to put it out into the world regardless? Or do you feel like this is him just kind of losing it?
I think he's losing it.
I feel like Aiden said there are two genders because that's as high as he can count. I don't think he's put a lot of thought into transgender. I think if I were to ask him for a coherent definition of like sex and gender, he'd probably like drool a little bit.
That's why.
No offense to Aiden, I was supposed to be on a stream yesterday. I'm sorry.
You tell me, but he's not saying the right thing, right? Like he's not saying what he thinks he's saying when he says there are only two genders, because nobody's really arguing. Because
he's arguing
of course
it's like
there
the
are more
extreme, like
genders.
72 gender thing or whatever. But he really means to say there's no trans people. That's what he's trying to say.
Yeah, I think that's what he means. But the idea that like, if I put on a wig and a miniskirt, then I'm kind of like performing the female gender.
But he'd probably be opposed to that, I would imagine.
I imagine, yeah.
I want to know what you guys think about him. Didn't he show porn?
Yeah. That was on Twitch?
Kick?
On Kick.
On Kick, yeah.
So he got kicked off of Twitch permanently.
But that happened at a later
I think
date,
that happened after he did the porn thing.
Yeah.
Because I think he was
it's all
on
connected.
Well, I think he was on Twitch, and I think he showed his Kick chat for like 20 minutes, and then I think he got banned. That's what I saw.
Interesting.
That was tweeted out, because apparently there were lots of racial slurs and stuff, because that's what we do when we're unmoderated. We immediately go to the racial slurs, I guess.
Yeah.
So Kick has no moderation in the chat?
Very, very, very little.
Wow.
Like
That's going to be crazy.
recently Heel Mike got a 1-day ban for getting a on stream.
Who's Heel Mike?
Heel Mike, he's just another streamer.
Okay.
He's another streamer that
What?
yeah, a lot of
Wait, he got a
he got a
You can only see a little bit, right?
I think it was his face was on the screen, but it was very apparent that he was getting his dick sucked.
Wow.
Like,
wait, is
it's
that really where they
contextual.
draw the line? Do they? Why? That's
I
interesting.
don't know. And people can be nude on Kick, right? This is what I've heard.
Or can I
Is
do
this
a?
accurate?
Can you orgasm on Twitch if you are not showing any genitalia? Like, what if you have some kind of vibrating device in your pants and you can't see what's happening, but like it's obvious from your face that you're experiencing an orgasm?
Great
know.
question.
There's a lot of different ways that I could kind of imagine pushing the line. And actually, my friend Trevor was just telling me about this insane trend on TikTok. Where
Oh, I did it, dude. It blew up.
wait, what are you talking
The
about?
tits? Oh, people have their entire tits out on TikTok
Yes,
right now.
like
Have
the
you seen this
nipples
stuff?
and shit. But
Yes!
it's
Yeah,
this
she did,
weird
I
new
saw it.
challenge where they'll film it in such a way so that like the hair is covering the nipple, but then it goes away for a second and it comes back. And these videos have millions of views because you could see a nipple for the like briefest second. I don't get it. Where is this coming from? Like, what is the appetite for this? Because for me, a lot of these videos, I had to watch them 3 or 4 times before I noticed the slight nudity going on.
Okay,
It's like
so
the
your brain is
taboo.
not like glitched out on it because I'm obsessed with them now.
Really? So you're like
Yeah.
into trying to find it's like a Where's Waldo type feeling in your
Yeah,
brain?
yeah.
Wow.
I feel like it's like the taboo of doing something you shouldn't do on a very censored platform.
Exactly.
It's absolutely that. It's like you can have all the porn available to you in the world, but as soon as you see that fucking scientifically accurate titty in your like biology book, it's like the most fascinating thing to stumble. It's like when you open the textbook for biology in like 6th grade and they all fall open to the same page because kids were constantly opening to the fucking titty page or whatever. There's just something about it.
You ever
You
see
guys-
like a naked homeless woman in public and you just
Jesus
can't look
Christ.
away?
No, that sounds horrible.
I can usually look away from that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You just went so much farther than anyone was ready to.
I think you've been in LA longer than we have.
Well, okay, like the more boring example of that would be like the National Geographic when you're a kid and you're looking at the women who are like clearly not like what most men would consider attractive, but you just can't believe that you're looking at it in the library. I went with
sure.
the homeless
They're
woman
like
in Skid
nude in
Row.
like a culturally normal way.
I guess
Yeah.
when I'm thinking homeless, Skid Row, I'm thinking like a woman that's like dying of like methadone, and you can like see her tit like fall. That sounds
yeah,
depressing
that
to
kind
me.
of vibe. No, I'm not trying to deny the depressing angle at all, because for sure it's depressing. I've seen some unreal shit when I was living down there.
What do you guys think is like the line where that should be drawn for like when people should be banned from these platforms like Twitch? Like, do you think it was justified that Aiden got banned?
I mean, if he was truly showing a chat that had like racial and homophobic slurs and was violating the TOS, then that's like a 30-day hate speech ban, right?
He probably knew what he was doing right there, right? Do we even have it confirmed that there's a permanent ban?
Yeah, it's permanent.
I mean, the thing that kind of bothers me more so is just that it seems like Twitch is kind of cultivating a little world in which they can pretty much ban you for anything that they want, where somebody like Sneeko, who hadn't even streamed on Twitch, right, was already sort of like prematurely banned on Twitch because he had said offensive things on other platforms. Like, I mean, I guess it's within their rights to create whatever kind of little club over there that they want, but I do find it kind of gross and it makes me root for their demise.
Like, what do you think is the line that we should draw, though? Like, where do you determine what ideas are too socially harmful to the populace?
I think the first thing is you have to figure out what your platform is for. So like on Twitch, you probably want a more specific culture than like YouTube. That's
Right.
like videos for the world. So I can understand Twitch being a little bit more constrained in terms of what they want. I think one rule, I feel very strongly about this. I think you should only be banned where you do wrong. So if I type the most racist, hateful, hurtful shit on like Facebook, I should get banned from Facebook. But I think it's really weird when there's like a domino effect and then all of a sudden you get banned from Twitter, Patreon, Airbnb, like every platform. I think that's weird. I think that your mistakes should be where they are and remain where they are. And then you go to another platform if you want to after.
And just to give you the most extreme example of this, we just had this dude, Dick Masterson, on here, and he at one point basically created like a Patreon competitors, like a simple app, website, whatever, where you could, subscribe to a creator and send them X amount of dollars per month. And he, because of certain people who were using it, he didn't really say, but I'm assuming that there were some people who were probably considered like racist or homophobic, whatever, using his platform to accept donations. He has now... He can't open a bank account or have a credit card from any like place that does
To process
anything.
What?
transactions, yeah.
Where's the
Basically-
connection?
Because of the fact that like because it probably wouldn't have been a big deal if it wasn't for the fact that apparently he had like haters who were reporting him to the bank or whatever, and they basically came to view him as somebody who was using their bank to
Fund extremism, basically.
fund extremism. Yeah.
Interesting.
He wanted to be like a payment processor. So like, let's say I wanted to subscribe to like the Daily Stormer or Nick Fuentes.
Right.
Since Patreon won't host them, I could instead use his service to pay money, and then
Okay.
And I would say that that's like kind of a glimpse into the future of like what could become of this. And so I think that like them taking a principled stance on like only enforcing this against shit that happens on platform probably makes a lot of sense. And just in general, the idea that the banks are like, I know everybody kind of had a laugh, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people had a laugh when it happened to Kanye. But yeah, the Dick's story there's a little bit
no
more
verticality.
disturbing.
Yeah, like banks should even if people are buying child porn, like the bank should just process a payment. That's all the bank is supposed to do. The platforms themselves should be regulating. You guys should have opinions about this. And then I talked to Adam about
I have
this.
a lot of opinions about this.
Because of pornography, right?
Yeah.
A lot of our pornography regulation comes from like Visa. Like what payments will they process as? That's why some platforms, a lot of people don't know why some platforms are for or against porn or whatever. And there's a lot of different reasons, but one of those reasons is because depending on the site you run, if they find out that you're doing pornographic transactions or certain types, you can't get payments anymore from like major payment processors. And it's like, personally, I know it's brave, I'm against child porn. And I'm against like horrible
big.
stuff like that. Yeah, I'll come out against that. But like the job of enforcing that should be on the platforms that host it, not on the payment processors.
Yeah, but what if they don't do that job?
Then boycott them or fight with them. But I think I would rather live in a world where some platforms don't do their jobs than when we rely on like vital infrastructure to do the job. Because I think at some point it gets to the point to where we start going to leasing companies and we're like, are you really going to rent an apartment to Adam 22 who had Richard Spencer on his show? And now he's like, he can't rent an apartment in like Manhattan or LA because nobody wants to rent to him.
But you would
I mean, sex workers literally experience that
Really?
in real life.
I would assume that Richard Spencer probably deals with that. If he hasn't changed his government name, like even me, if I'm a realtor and he comes to rent from me, I'm probably going to think, oh, well, this is going to be a little bit more complicated than renting the apartment to Emma Magnolia, right?
Maybe,
yeah. If Richard Spencer tried to rent a place from me, I would probably be like, no.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I just
some girls that do OnlyFans now are having trouble.
I would for sure tweet about it. Yeah.
Some girls that do OnlyFans now, I don't know if this is real and I should be careful. I saw it tweeted by an OnlyFans girl that she got rejected for, it was either a visa or an immigration form to come into the United States because she did OnlyFans.
I had a friend who just got banned from the U.S. for 10 years because she was coming to visit me, and at the border they were looking through her phone and found porn on it and saw that she does porn, and they were like, you can't come to the U.S. for the next 10 years.
Probably because they probably
10.
associate all of it with like
She's
trafficking and
Canadian.
prostitution and shit. Yeah.
From Canada too?
From Canada, yeah.
What the fuck? Are they allowed to just look through my phone? I gotta delete a lot of shit.
If they can come up with a reason to.
They don't. I don't even think they need a reason. You have no fucking rights at the border, dude.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
They can detain you with no fucking reason. They can hold you for some amount of time. You don't get a fucking lawyer. You don't get shit. They own your ass at the border.
That's a scary one right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like we've met lots of sex workers who have housing issues.
You lose your bank account.
You can lose your bank account because they think you're doing something unethical.
Yep.
And they don't have to give you the money in it. Or I've heard of cases where they haven't given people their money.
Well, you have to be careful for what you have. Like a bank should have to give it to you, but like PayPal might not because of the way that,
PayPal, like years ago.
I lost $20,000 on PayPal once.
Years ago, PayPal shut down Lena's account and took whatever money was in it, and she has not been able to reach any sort of customer support to get any kind of answer to be able to use it in the future.
This is on an app that was built by sex workers using it first also, which happens a lot of times. Yeah, I mean...
PayPal was?
Yeah, PayPal was used by sex workers early on.
Interesting.
And now they kick them off.
Every single platform will do that where they grow on the backs of, I don't want to say the seedier parts of society, but it's like, we've got racists, we've got sex, we got everything. But then once they hit like a certain critical mass, they're like, okay, well, now we want to bring in the A-list sponsor, so you guys. Twitch did that, right? YouTube, in a way, did that, like everybody.
Yeah, even OnlyFans tried to do that recently, and they only kept us because people were outraged.
Well, because they were going to lose other people to Fansly and Fanhouse. Yeah.
And well, actually, what I heard really happened was that they ended up going into negotiations with the credit card companies and reached some sort of like relatively good terms that they were able to agree on. And I think part of that was a bunch of different shit being banned from the platform. Like,
we should push the platforms for it though. I feel like pushing the payment processor is scary. It just sets a weird precedent.
Well, it's a payment processor pushing the platform.
Yeah, but I don't want I just want Visa to process.
You don't want the payment processor to push the platform.
No, I want the people to do it.
But I also think that if these right-wing groups or anti-porn groups were able to just put the pressure directly on Pornhub, they would probably never get anywhere because Pornhub just isn't going to lose money as a result of some group being angry about it, right? Like,
No, you can
they
lose.
probably feel like they have to go to the.
If Pornhub got the reputation of hosting child porn, I think there'd be big backlash against it, right?
I feel like, and this is not a commentary on MindGeek, which is the company that owns Pornhub and browsers and all that. I think that they honestly do pretty well as a company, but I don't trust companies in general to be doing the right thing. I just really don't. And, you know, like if there's a circumstance in which a payment processor can make a company be less harmful, if they're doing serious harms, then I support that.
I think the scary thing that happens is when I talk about payment processor, what I'm really talking about are these, there's a smarter word for this, but it's kind of like these utility backbones to how everything works. And I think it's attacking those things that makes me scared. Do you guys know anything about like net neutrality?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the idea that like basically like your ISP shouldn't be able to give you preferential access to different websites, right? Yeah. And the idea behind that being that like if you pay for internet access, then you can access the internet, full stop. Like we don't want at the ISP level for people to be directing traffic. And I view payment processing as one of those things that when you go after these like properly basic like fundamental structures and you try to do policy from there, you end up in a world where let's say I really hate porn and I campaign as hard as I can and I get porn removed from like a few websites. I think that's totally fine. I think that's great. You have a right to protest. You've got a right to do it. And if you manage to get it removed, that's fine. But let's say you do that and you target Visa or MasterCard and you win with them. Well, now nobody can do porn. Now it's gone from the internet. Yeah. And rather than like enforcing your view on like some websites, you've gone after like these fundamental building blocks. And I feel like you're hitting like an attack vector that should be off limits, I feel.
Yeah. I agree. I do believe in net neutrality. I don't think that internet access should be politically stratified.
But you don't feel the same for credit cards. You want to stratify an American Express.
I think that more what I believe in the regard of companies like not being accountable enough is like more in the vein of production companies like that are producing items that are like destroying the planet. I
mean, like Chase and Master, these are all companies too, though, right? And you're relying on them to bow to public pressure. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't want them right. Like the TOS on OnlyFans should represent what the company OnlyFans and their customers and their users want, not what fucking MasterCard wants.
So what do you think is like the course of action for the company and the people around it interacting with it if a company is allowing production of like some type of heinous porn, like snuff porn or something like that?
You boycott the company. And if you want to go farther, you can boycott like the people working with it, I think. So like if you upload to Pornhub and I know that they do snuff porn, then I'm not going to support your content anymore. Like I feel like that type of activism is effective.
Yeah,
I have a question for Destiny. Ooh. I'm like, okay, because you're very good at debating and I've always considered it one of my weak points, but I'm so curious if you were a woman. So take that as you will. I don't think you're in this hypothetical. I don't think you're as good at debating as you are now.
Wow.
Maybe it's
okay.
Woman.
You say that. Hold on. Wait a second. Have you dated anybody before?
Yes.
Okay. I get this shit. I get this shit. Women will say shit to me where it's like, you're so good at debating. How do you remember all these like facts? How do you do in the middle of an argument, you're so rhetorically effective, blah, 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 blah. Okay. You get into an argument with a woman and she'll remember every incorrect thing you've ever done, every feeling you had. I'll be like, Melina, I didn't do this shit. It's like, well, actually, on July 4th, after you told me this, you said that, and I know that you said that because I'm like, what the You can argue. It just depends on what it just depends on what you're passionate about.
So the last girl I dated was a lawyer.
So you're a woman and you're going on to Fresh and Fit. Mm-hmm. So that's the entire
Great idea. I love it.
Okay, yeah. What's the strategy?
Just in general?
Yeah, because I've only been on it once. I was completely overwhelmed with the worldview of men's rights activists. I had never fully delved into it. And my mouth was just like on the floor the whole time because I could not believe what I was hearing. But I'm just curious, like, what would you say to them as a lady?
What's the ideal approach?
That's a really hard question.
Yeah.
There is... you could do like 10 hours. There are women that have probably devoted their lives to this. Like off the top of my head, there's a couple issues where as a woman, it's very hard to be authoritative without being a hyper bitchy cunt. That's just how people will perceive you. Yeah. Whereas for a man, you can tear into somebody, you can be really hardcore and blah, blah, blah. But for a woman, it's hard to take the same type of tone without people viewing you in a certain light. It's also hard that... people will judge you differently based on your appearance. So like you've heard of the term like pretty privilege, right?
Yeah.
So for women, it is a hardcore double-edged sword, where when you're pretty, you definitely get access to more than you would otherwise. But you're also gaslighting yourself for your entire life because you don't really know if any of your achievements are real or if just every guy around you trying to you. Men get all of the advantages of pretty privilege, but none of the disadvantages. You'll never see a guy that's like reasonably attractive or very attractive and he does well in business. People are like, oh, he probably his way to the top. Like that never happens, you know? No. So there are some synchronous parts between like men and women that I think make it hard for women to thrive in like very heavy debate environments without the woman like consciously being like, I'm going to throw aside like every social norm I've been programmed with and just say f it and go hard. Like I can excel in that environment and get a lot of respect for it. And there are communities that will cherish me for it. But for a woman, you're really kind of hanging yourself out there on their own.
Which I think is how they designed the podcast. I mean, obviously.
No. That's not the podcast. That's the world.
Yeah, the world.
That's all of society. Yeah.
But then even more specifically, Fresh and Fit, they like outline like very specific rules that women on there have to adhere to, or else they don't get credited or they get kicked off the podcast. Like the stuff that you said on Fresh and Fit, I think that if I came forward with the same points, they would be like, you're done, get out.
Maybe, yeah.
Or they would just silence me. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if you're a girl going into that environment, like I kind of like the approach that I think your friend who was here the other day took, which is like she seemed to have like 3 or 4 things she like wanted to get across, and then she kind of like pushed the conversation so that she was able to say those things, and then she clipped them for TikTok, and they did extremely well for her. And it's like that is crazy, like that's how it fucking works. But I mean, it worked for her, and I think it makes sense because there's an extent to which you're just not going to be able to really catch much of a W when you enter into their arena by their rules. So you got to kind of like figure out what you want to say and just try to get it off.
There's a huge strategy that I employ that I'm very conscious of, where when I'm going into these platforms where it's going to be very adversarial, I try really hard to build bridges first. Like my first appearance,
with them first?
Yes, because you have to start from a place of empathy and understanding, or else you're never going to be able to connect. If you watch my first appearance on Fresh and Fit, and maybe my second one too, my fans were so mad. They were like, "Why didn't you push back enough? Why didn't you give enough on this? Why did you let him get away with that?" I was like, "Because I just want them to make sure that they understand that I know where they're coming from." Once I've built that empathy and I'm kind of like in their circle, then I can start to push a little bit, and it won't feel like an outsider just like coming down on you. But as a man, I can get buy-in with other men easier than especially a pretty woman can.
Yeah, I mean that's just how you change people's minds about stuff, is if they think that you're right there with them.
Yeah. And for a woman, that's just another barrier. It's possible, but you've got to do that much more work to like empathize with a normal guy. Yeah. Because women say a lot of stupid shit about dating and sex.
We're so stupid, dude.
Men are dumb too, but like,
if you were to watch Fresh and Fit, and if you were to conclude that the average woman is a fucking imbecile, it would be pretty reasonable, because the average woman on that show is definitely retarded.
Well... Yes, but also they're in an environment where the retardation is heavily encouraged.
Oh, yeah.
Because you got to consider you've got your 2 kings.
Set up, too.
You've got the men that are there that are the kings.
And you're in Miami.
And you're 11 girls that are desperately looking for like, I want to blow up on this show. I'm a really small content creator. I'm not a debate lord. Say what you will about Myron. Myron is very verbally adept, right? That guy can talk circles around 99% of people, even in political debate spheres. So I can't imagine being, and then you've got like the mysterious like pick-me's in the fucking crowd too that you don't know are going to come out and attack you.
They have like these girls on there. The show is like mostly not even OnlyFans girls usually. It's like
Miami babes.
It's probably like 70% girls who might want to model at the side and really have no actual stake in like profits at stake in being on Fresh and Fit. They just want to be seen.
Yeah. And they kind of want a girl. They want a girl who's going to say something that it sounds like she's never been on the internet before, so that they can just throw all these easy arguments at her and just baffle her.
Dude, listen to this. Last night, I went on that podcast, whatever, you know, the one I'm talking about.
I might go tomorrow.
They're over there in Santa Barbara. First of all, they were so kooky. They were like those like fake science evolutionary biologists talking about like dating and saying that like it's biologically fine
men
for
hunt
men
resources and women shouldn't cheat because it's different for them. And
basically what they were saying is just like the more men that you sleep with as a woman, like the more unlikely it is for you to have a successful marriage, which I don't care.
Who cares?
I don't care. But yeah, there was this girl on there. She was like an 18-year-old college student, had nothing to gain from this, but immediately when the podcast started, she was like, yeah, I'm sleeping with 5 guys and none of them know.
Yo, I have a question. Like with you guys, does dating feel kind of odd because on average, you're not really running into guys who have as much money as you, unless you're like going out of your way to kick it with like rappers or actors or whatever?
I don't think I've ever dated somebody with as much money as I have right now. But it is kind of odd. Like, I feel like it used to. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I feel like it is kind of odd, like, because back in the day when I was like waiting tables and shit like that, like, pretty much everybody that I would date would have a similar level of income to mine. So there's no power dynamic. But now, you know, I feel like I have to navigate things a little bit more mindfully.
So you think you have too much power over the guys?
Yeah, what do you mean when you say that?
I don't like a power imbalance.
This is like the streamers f***ing their fans conversation, except you guys are porn stars. That's a lot of personal responsibility you're giving yourself there. To mankind as a whole, like they're all like you're subservient to you.
Dude, somebody I was dating a little bit ago, like had like some serious student loans problems, and I was just like, "Can I just pay them?" And they're like, "No." Don't.
Wow.
Yeah. Because it would have been a big power dynamic in our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you do see a lot of OnlyFans girls dating sort of weird beta guys that just don't seem like they put up a fight about much or don't have like much ground to stand on because the girl's just paying for everything. And
I like to date someone who's responsible for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Autonomous entities.
I like to be daddy and like pay for lots of really nice dates and stuff like that, but I like someone who at the end of the day is going to take care of their own shit.
Dude,
paying for dates is nice, but you don't want somebody that's like financially dependent on you to survive.
Exactly. And since I've started doing OnlyFans, I have had relationships where I'm the only breadwinner in the relationship and am taking care of that person's entire life.
That seems like it probably won't work out well in the long run. Is that your experience?
Yeah, no, it didn't.
Well, that's why they're exes.
Yeah, it's got to be kind of hard for a dude to be in that role, I would think.
Yeah.
It is really hard. That's why even in relationships, this is an interesting side, even in relationships where women earn most of the money, they still do most of the housework too.
Really?
Which is really weird, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense for me because I have no clue what to do house-wise unless she is literally just telling me to do it, yeah. All right, here's a question I want to throw out there. The red pill community would tell us that you guys are currently having a horrible time on the dating market because your value has been massively lowered as a result of your careers. What's it actually feel like out there? How often do you meet a guy who's like clearly not into the OnlyFans thing? I don't know. You guys even meet guys or are you just full diced out at this point?
Adam.
I don't want to give away your secrets or anything.
No, I see guys. But I feel like I'm right now, just because I'm happier in my own shoes now than I really ever have been. I'm dating cool, nice, interesting, open-minded people, and I'm as happy in the dating market as I ever have been.
Are you dating the guy I seen you at the party with the other day?
Which guy?
I don't know. You didn't say a word the whole time.
Oh, no, we're not dating. But yeah, I feel like my dating life is sick. I think that there was a lot of growing pains when I got into the industry and a lot of things changed in my life because I think it takes a certain type of person to date someone who's making a massive amount of porn with a ton of different people. And I don't have any judgment for people who don't want to be in a relationship like that. But now I only am, going on dates and whatnot with people who are okay with that.
Depending on who you are, that probably filters out a lot of guys you probably wouldn't be interested in.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a very strong filter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've been, I don't know. Yeah, everything's been happening all at once. So dating in LA in general is just kind of weird and has definitely given me some trust issues. I think that would have happened whether or not I was in porn. But it's kind of affected, like I do sometimes feel like guys kind of want to just like taste it and then they're like good. And I don't even know if they know that, but they're like, oh, this girl's hot and she does porn. Like I want to fuck. And sometimes I catch feelings and that's where the danger zone is. So now I just kind of like, I think I just like taking things really slow. But other than that, I mean, I'm having a great time.
Yeah. Do you think there's value in making a dude wait to fuck or are you just going for it?
A little bit of both. It depends on the situation, I think. I'm a first kind of a person, but like just with the way things have been going in my life, I've been kind of reconsidering that a little bit.
I think there's huge value in waiting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I do like waiting for like different like emotional landmarks, but I don't really like having sex be used as a tool for that personally.
Throughout my life when I was single, there was many different times where really smart chicks would just be dragging me along, and like every time we would hang out they would let me do a little bit more sexually, and it really just kept me in their fucking web for like weeks. And it's not like I ended up like seriously dating them because of it necessarily, but they definitely kept me around long enough where I wasn't just gonna them and dip because they had kind of forced me to really like get to know them as a person. So even as somebody who was pretty much like 100% geared towards sex at that time in my life and wasn't really thinking about relationships, their chance of like getting me to take them serious, I think was probably a lot better. I would definitely advise girls not to, even though it is kind of hard to square that with the fact that I also would like encourage girls to just be sexually free, be responsible about it, and do whatever the you want to do. But if you are interested in romance, I do think that like holding out is pretty much like the best. It's the best tool you have to get a guy to like really take you serious.
When I'm interested in someone, I'll usually wait until like second date, probably.
Second date.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
The problem is you don't have to hold out. If if it's the one that you're going to be dating or whatever, it's fine, I think, to fuck immediately. The problem is that if you're trying to pursue something more serious, guys will say whatever the to get
Literally.
pussy. Yeah. And so like if you're giving it up on the first date, like he might stay around for a little bit for sex, but then he's gone and you have no idea. Whereas for a lot of guys, he's like, hey, like I don't the first, second, or third date. A lot of boys are just gone immediately because they're like, oh, I'm not gonna waste my time with this bullshit.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I feel like it sucks having to play games and wait, especially if it's a guy you like, because you probably do want to pretty quick, which is like I think pretty normal.
Yeah.
But if the guy is not willing to wait, and then on the guy side, like if you like a girl and you're trying to date her, like it's okay to wait till the third or fourth or fifth date. Like it's not like she's going anywhere.
Yeah. If there was a girl I liked and she wanted me to wait until any number of dates, I'd be like, okay, let's just keep hanging out.
It's also like, and it's funny because
you.
this will be like the opposite of red pill advice. But if you really want to with a girl, if you really like her a lot, if you end a night and you like drive her home and say goodbye and you dip and you don't try to make any moves at all, it drives her interest in you up. Because if you can be
a lot
patient,
of mystique.
Absolutely, yeah. And the girl's expecting to like have to fight off the guy and blah 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 blah. And you're like, hey, it was a fun night. I'll see you tomorrow or whatever. And then you like bounce. It helps you a lot, I think, in the standing of that girl that's looking for something more serious. I'm kind of giving boy tips. Not that I would say you should do that just to be a boy, but it's
the fuckboy tip of don't have sex with a girl on the first date.
On the first date, yeah, because by the second date, they're gonna absolutely want it because they're like, oh, cool, he's like patient, he's kind, he's like, he's being like more respectful. I'm gonna this dude, and you're like, and now I got you. See you later, bitch.
I remember I hung out with
not that you should do that. I'm saying don't do that. But
I hung out with this girl one time, and she was really hot, but her personality was horrible, and it was almost like she knew that because she like told me within the context of our first dinner that she would not fuck a guy unless they had hung out 30 times.
30?
Damn.
30. And
Are you talking like 30 games of Overwatch?
It's
Or
like a year.
No, like 30 separate evenings of hanging out, and I was dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. Immediately I knew I'm never gonna you because there's no way I'm hanging out with you like even close to that many times. But I will say that we then ended up in my bed back in my house, and we were kind of in like a spooning position, and she actually hit me with the behind the back jerk off. Like jerked me off onto her back, behind her back, blind.
Wait.
She couldn't even pick my dick out of a lineup.
The first time y'all hung out?
The first time we hung out, but apparently sex would have took 30
is not matching up.
It definitely made me wonder like how serious she was about the 30 number anyway.
I feel like she can't be serious. Who has that much self-control?
If you were really getting along that good, like I could see you waiting a week, but 30
I think it's just
She's about to do backflips on the on the first date. Is she jerks
it's
you
just a
off
good
blind?
filter. It gets a lot of like dumb like away from you, I think, as a woman. Like there's a lot of, I think half the girls that I in California on Tinder had like not interested in hooking up in their profile.
Interesting.
Like girls just write shit like that because I think they're trying to like weed out like the super boy people.
You guys
feel
are
like-
on these apps?
No, I don't use dating apps
You don't do
anymore.
it?
I
Never.
do when I get sad. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
I don't
That
do
means
it.
you don't actually meet anybody. You just swipe on them, chat with them, and fucking turn it off.
I did that recently. I'm not gonna lie.
Wow.
Sometimes I do meet up though.
I feel like I meet a lot of people that I have things in common with in regular life.
Really?
Fisting, Antifa.
You know what? I did recently meet a girl at the Tom of Finland Foundation, so I would say we probably have fisting in common.
See, she's meeting girls.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Different
Yeah,
game.
I date more women than I do men. I date men as well.